What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Geek Speak. I'm here with Squirtle Master Kenobi, and I'm Mr. Dynamic, and today we are going to be bringing you, with Avengers Endgame coming out, our updated 22 movie ranking for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And afterwards, we'll give a little, just a small, one-sentence thought on the movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, brief descriptions, because we've got a lot of these to go through.
We're going to go ahead and mark this as a spoiler alert, just in case we accidentally say anything about Endgame.
Yeah. Guaranteed we're going to say something about Avengers Endgame by accident, so just spoiler alert for that movie. And yeah.
Spoilers begin now.
Okay, so...
Tony Stark died.
Yeah, basically. That's going full in with the spoilers, huh? Just full.
Hey, we just said spoiler
just
alert.
Dive deep into
spoilers.
If
they were still watching, it's on them.
That's true.
We did what we were supposed to.
Yep. Don't get mad at us if you haven't seen it and you didn't know that. So, we'll be going through one by one through our different rankings. We've seen all the movies, so this time we can talk about them and try to keep track of the order.
Disclaimer, by the way, when we go through these lists, remember that none of these movies, no matter how far down it is on our personal list, got less than, what would you say, a 7.5, 7.7?
I'd say 6.5.
Out of 10.
Yeah.
Which is still a relatively decent score for a film.
It's really good. Yeah.
That's, we're not saying that any of these movies, that made it to 22nd place or anything like that, are as bad as The Last Airbender or anything like that.
I say these movies always go from okay to great.
Yeah.
And sometimes even beyond great if it's really good. But alright. Ready to get into this?
Yeah, who wants to go first?
I'll go first, I guess. I think we both have the same worst movie.
Alright, you want to go on 3 for 22?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Thor the Dark World.
That's fantastic. Okay, everyone knows this is the most mediocre movie inside the MCU.
But why is it the most mediocre movie in the MCU? Because it's still actually a pretty fantastic film.
I think it's okay. I didn't like it.
This is the one that would be 6.5.
Right. Right. I didn't like it the first time I saw it. Second time I saw it, I thought it was better. What saves it is strong performances from Tom Hiddleston as Loki and Chris Hemsworth as Thor.
I think that the base plot of it, the whole ether stealing, Loki in prison, all that stuff, and I think some of the really deep Thor's family storyline stuff was really fantastic in it.
Yep.
I hated the storyline between him and Natalie Portman's character.
I don't like Jane Foster at
all. And I thought that the beginning was very slow. I
also think that Kat Dennings is probably the worst thing that
happens in the MCU. She is literal trash. I do not care what people think.
In my
Kat
opinion,
Dennings is trash.
She is the Jar Jar Binks of the MCU because all the comedy is centered around her, and none of it works. In my opinion,
she's just the Jar Jar Binks of the Thor movies.
Pretty much, yeah. And yeah, this is just the bland villain too, and the bland Dark World. And
it's funny because we say that it's the worst movie in the MCU universe. However, it's one of the more important ones to watch. I just narrowed down to the top 6 movies that you should absolutely watch.
Yep.
And Thor Dark World was in that because of Endgame, what happens in Endgame.
When they go back to Thor the Dark World in Endgame, I was like, really? We're going back to the worst of these movies, huh?
They made their mistake and they're owning it.
It's a bold strategy, Con. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Right. Oh, jeez. That was an accident.
You good?
Yeah.
Alright, so moving on to 21, I have Iron Man 2.
I have Iron Man 3.
You have Iron Man 3, huh?
Yeah, okay. Why do you have Iron Man 2 as 21?
Honestly, it just feels like filler waiting for the Avengers movie to show up. Honestly, you can watch Iron Man.
I have Iron Man 2 way down the list, so I'll get into my opinions on it later.
You can watch, in my opinion, you can watch Iron Man 2, or you can skip Iron Man 2 and be perfectly fine moving into the Avengers. It just seems like a nothing movie with, too many plots going on. It's too convoluted, and I think that it's just too... They just threw everything they could into an Iron Man sequel without thinking about what they actually should to make a good story.
I will get into it later, but I have a vague disagreement about that. Not vague. Two points on which I disagree why it's not just filler. One, it's the introduction of War Machine.
Yeah, that's true.
2, it shows a contrast of where Tony begins in the story to where he ends up, Because if you remember, in the beginning of that film, he's still very much in the mindset that his Iron Man suits are his property and the government can't have them. What is his party line come Civil War? Very much not so.
That's true. But I feel like you could skip Iron Man 2 and still understand that from his character based on the Avengers.
From Iron Man 1. I'm just saying, like, they really make it clear in Iron Man 2 that's where he stands on things.
I like Black Widow in this movie. I think she's alright, but I feel like the movie's just too convoluted and the script is a little messy. Like, they did not give Jon Favreau enough time to, like, give a good sequel. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Iron Man 2. Why is Iron Man 3 so down on your ranking?
Iron Man 3 is down on my ranking because I do not like the fact that he blew up all of his suits.
Okay.
Or that they blew up all of his suits. I did not... Oh, and even at the end, he blew them all up doing the whatever sign call thing that he did. I thought the whole Iron Patriot part of the storyline was rather unnecessary.
Okay.
I understood why they do that because that's part of War Machine's storyline. He was the Iron Patriot for a second. It's fine. It makes sense, but I thought it was rather unnecessary, and I thought they went backwards with Rhodey's character a little bit in that movie, and he was not used nearly enough. I feel like, okay, we barely got any War Machine at the end of Iron Man 2. Then Iron Man 3, my hope was, okay, we're going to get, War Machine and Iron Man just taking out the Mandarin in Iron Man 3.
Okay.
We didn't get that, and I was kind of disappointed. The other thing that I didn't like is I didn't like how they did the whole Gwyneth Paltrow's character, Pepper Potts, getting Extremis, and then, like, they never really explained. Like, does she still have Extremis? Does she not have Extremis?
They did, like, have a passing line saying, like, we can fix you or whatever. Yeah. Like, I'll find... Like, Tony Stark says...
I just felt like the end...
We'll find a way.
I just felt like the end just kind of wrapped things up a little quickly.
All right,
personally. And one things I did like about this, I did like the Aldrich Killian storyline. I did like the Extremis stuff in general. And I thought that the stuff with the kid, too, was a little bit, like, unnecessary. And that whole part where he's, like, lost in the wilderness and then gets help from the kids, stuff like that. It was, like I said, it's not like it's any worse than, like, a 7.0 out of 10. It's just, it wasn't one of the better ones, in my opinion. So, all right, moving on.
Number 20. This is a little bit of an unpopular opinion, and when I was going through these movies to rank them, I was a little surprised, like, how much I didn't enjoy this, like, when I watched it, because I loved this movie, like, when it first came out. Ant-Man. I didn't like this movie, like, when I rewatched it for this ranking.
Wow.
I think the first two acts are unbearably slow. Like, it takes a while for this movie, in my opinion, to get going. I love all the performances. I love the shrinking stuff. I think the third act is fantastic.
That's something I felt about Iron Man 3.
I just thought the first two acts, in order to get all that stuff, is really slow and, like, kind of monotonous. Like, I was just thinking, come on, let's just get to this.
Right. I can understand that.
But I don't... I feel wrong about
Paul Rudd.
It. I feel wrong putting it... I love Ant-Man. I love Paul Rudd.
But Michael Douglas.
Yeah, but... I love this movie when I
think it was a really good origin story, to be honest.
Right. If they quicken the pace for the first two acts, in my opinion,
and I can understand
because it's a heist movie. We should have a quicker pace, in my opinion.
I love the heist music though. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, it has a really good theme. Yeah, it is one of the few good Marvel themes that I will constantly hum in my head. But like, all right, your number.
My 20. Number 20 is The Incredible Hulk.
Right.
The reason it is my number 20 is because I feel like Liv Tyler.
Yep.
I don't know why they cast her and her maybe Botoxed lips in that movie.
I have no idea.
I couldn't tell if she had Botoxed lips or not in that movie, and I was like, maybe that's just the Tyler lips, because have you seen her dad? But I don't like it also because it... And in some ways, I don't like Iron Man 1 either. But even though Iron Man 1 is pretty high up on my list, but I have a similar kind of feeling in Iron Man because of this kind of thing. Because of the fact that we didn't get Edward Norton as our Banner, or the fact that we didn't get Mark Ruffalo as our Banner in that movie.
Sure.
There's a little bit of it feels disconnected from everything for the most part, and it feels like they never got to go anywhere with that story.
Right.
And I feel... The other thing is, I feel like when they left him off, it just felt like a rehash of the first Hulk movie from 2003 where, okay, he's going to be left off in the middle of absolutely nowhere again.
It's true, yeah.
Being able to control his Hulk better, because that's literally how they left off that first Hulk movie. And we're like, okay, come on.
That's true.
Now, other than that, I absolutely loved The Incredible Hulk and thought it was actually really a really good Hulk movie. There was just that thing. And then I think they kind of overdid it a little bit on their like comic booky like transition scenes and stuff like that. Do you remember how they did that?
Yeah, I do. I'll get into it because that's my next movie.
All right, so number 19.
I'm going to struggle here. Number 19 for me is The Incredible Hulk. I agree with you on most things. I actually kind of like Edward Norton as
I loved him as Banner. I thought he did a great job.
In my opinion, I think Mark Ruffalo is better for... he's a better fit for like the universe and the direction they took the Hulk moving forward. But Edward Norton was like a really good Bruce Banner. And I think like everything revolving around Bruce Banner was great. When The Incredible Hulk came out, that's when the movie kind of dragged a bit. The CGI in this movie is kind of dated, and I kind of expected that.
A little bit, yeah.
Like the final fight it looks cool, but it just doesn't look that great. Like with the Abomination.
The Abomination could have used work.
Yeah, he reminds me of Doomsday from Batman v Superman, and like a sort of like cave troll sense. I just think that the
love story between Betty and Bruce could have been so much better.
Yeah, I also don't like Liv Tyler. Yeah. I didn't like her in Lord of the Rings. I don't like her here. I don't know why she get.
The only movie she was good in was Armageddon.
I've not seen it yet. I've not seen like Liv Tyler in a movie that I actually enjoyed her performance in, but that's just me. Okay, moving on to your 19.
Don't Punch Me. Captain Marvel.
Okay, why is it number 19?
It is number 19 because I love the humor in it, right? I thought it was a very funny movie, but I feel like the narrative of the movie was trying to find out what movie it was supposed to be. It started out as an alien movie and then became this weird 80s superhero movie, and then it became, a Superman movie at the end, and it was like, what's going on here? And I feel like had the movie started with her crash landing into Blockbuster and used the first 20 minutes of the movie as flashback sequences and stuff like that, the movie might have flowed better.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I think what would have been cool is if she crash landed onto Blockbuster and got amnesia that way. And didn't know who she was. And then she was having the mixed memories between her Earth memories and her space memories.
Have sort of like a Flash Gordon Bourne Identity mix.
Yeah.
That could have been really cool.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
The other things that I didn't like about it is I loved Goose, but I thought when they're like, we're going to explain how Nick Fury loses his eye in this movie, and then they did the whole cat scratching his eye out thing, I was like...
It was a little disappointing.
Come on. Can there at least be some sort of badass fight scene where even though she didn't need him to, he could jump in the way of a bullet for her and then lose his eye or something like that?
Yeah.
Or maybe he was saving some children, Maybe Captain America accidentally blasted him in the face, It's
right.
Make it better than that.
Yeah, that's true.
And then kind of get into a little bit more of a political thing. I did feel there wasn't I didn't notice a lot of a pushing towards the female power or anything like that.
Right.
But there were a couple of nuggets that I did notice that were a little bit kind of leaning that way.
Sure.
One being that none of the men in this film really did do a lot of good action except for Jude Law's character, who was supposed to be the villain.
Yeah.
And even that, he wasn't going to stand a chance against Captain Marvel. They didn't give her a good villain.
Yep.
That was another issue that I had. She was able to basically, once she figured out, I could just take this thing off, they didn't really give her a good villain that would have stretched her and that would have challenged her.
Yeah, definitely. She's definitely
it was too easy for her. She
has the Superman issue.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
and that's why they throw people at Superman like Doomsday and give Lex Luthor a kryptonite suit of armor.
I feel we'll get that in a sequel. That we'll get hopefully Yeah, I agree with all your points. It is kind of a messy script, and 4 people wrote the script, and 2 people directed it, so it's kind of a tonal mess the whole way through.
I don't care much for Brie Larson, and the way that she's just a little too political with the way she advertised and did her campaigning for the movie, and so just campaign the character. You don't need to make it political.
Yep, already got the audience there.
Yeah.
All right. moving on to number 18, I believe, right?
Yeah.
18? I have the first Thor movie. This movie has all the same problems that the Thor the Dark World has, except this time it has a Dutch angle tilt. So that way you're staring at the movie
and it has
sideways.
a much better score.
It has an okay score. Like I
really love the first score for it.
I'm like impartial to it. I'm like, yeah, it sounds nice and all, but
yeah.
I like the big grand scale of Asgard. I thought all that stuff Kenneth Branagh does a great job with, like big scale and spectacle. When they go down to New Mexico, it is literally
Just
like...
real quick, we should make it a little snappier. We're already 15 minutes in, right. And we're only at number 18.
That's true. When we go down to New Mexico, it becomes like a romantic comedy with Natalie Portman, and the movie just like slogs on from there. Chris
there was
Hemsworth,
a little slowness in action with Thor.
Chris Hemsworth is great. Tom Hiddleston is great. I think Anthony Hopkins actually gives a really good performance in this movie. But besides it's...
But I mean, it's Anthony Hopkins. How can you get a bad performance out of it?
That's true. But besides that, I think it's just an okay movie.
My number 18 is Black Panther.
Ooh, gonna have to disagree with that.
The reason why Black Panther is my number 18 is because I feel like it had a similar problem to Captain Marvel in that it was finding its footing on where the script was going. It had a good solid beginning where you got that backstory of Killmonger, and it had a solid ending where you had that final face-off. But there was all this stuff in the middle where I couldn't make heads or tails of why they were going where. And it didn't keep my attention either. I was getting bored watching it. And so that's mainly the reason why I have it kind of down there. Is I got bored watching it. I couldn't really make heads or tails of where the thing was going. And also I felt that there's something missing from Black Panther's performance.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he's not a compelling enough character for me, and it has nothing to do with the fact that he's black or anything like that.
Right.
I cared more about Killmonger than I did Black Panther.
True.
And I've already seen Black Panther from Civil War.
True.
At that point.
Yep. Okay, 17, I have Ant-Man the Wasp.
Really?
I think this movie it's better than the first Ant-Man movie, but it's still kind of like...
Don't look at my list.
I'm not looking at your list. It's just okay. All the elements in this movie are okay. How's the action? Well, it's okay. How are the villains? Well, they're okay. How's the heroes? Well, they're all right. I love the Wasp in this movie. She's like the one really like improvement that they have, because I think Evangeline Lilly is like a really good actress. I love like her action scenes in this movie. But I just find this movie like okay, and this is the one where the Marvel formula really set in for me. Like coming off of Infinity War with like the biggest villain that they've ever had.
That is a struggle that I think Ant-Man and the Wasp did have, is because they just did give us like a crazy movie.
Yeah, and they left us on a big cliffhanger. And this one gives you answers. You just have to wait till the end credits in order to get them. But besides that, I think it's an okay movie. I like it.
My number 17 is Thor.
Right.
My number 17 is Thor for most of the same reasons that you said, which is why it's kind of low down. It was slow. I think that the most action you got was like really in that very beginning part and then the very end fight. And then otherwise there was like nothing.
Oh, it's a slog. Yeah. The middle in the Thor movie.
I like it better than Thor Dark World though, because I feel like it felt more like Thor than Thor Dark World did.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, it does seem like a Thor comic put onto the big screen, and I do respect that. It is a really nice, impressive movie to look at.
All right, number 16.
Number 16, I have Avengers Age of Ultron.
Understandable.
This movie tries to recapture all the magic and hype behind the first Avengers movie, and it just comes off as too try-hard. Coming out of the movie, like the first time I saw it, I was like, all these elements I should like. It has all like the stuff that I like plus more.
Okay, but that Hulk versus Hulkbuster fight?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, it's one of the best fights in the MCU.
Also, James Spader as Ultron, I loved it.
I thought the voice was really good. I felt like they made him jokey too much, but that might have just been me. Like he wasn't the threatening robot.
I liked what they did though, because that was the part of Tony that they were bringing into him.
And that was the part of Ultron that I didn't like the most, like the Tony part of it. But it just seems the most try-hard to me.
My number 16 is Doctor Strange.
Okay, yeah, I can see it.
My number 16 is Doctor Strange, mainly because it was a great... It's not that there was anything wrong with it inherently, it's just there were things better about other movies, in my opinion. You know, I think that Doctor Strange had a solid, origin for a character. I would have liked to see a little bit more of a relationship development between him and the Ancient One and the other sorcerers and stuff like that.
Sure.
That way, when she dies and stuff, it's a little bit more tragic.
More. Yeah.
And that way, when they find out that she was using the Dark Realm to keep herself alive, you can see how you can connect more with Mordo when he's hurt over that and stuff like that.
That's true.
But at this point, the way they gave us, it's like, I don't really care about Mordo that much. It's like...
Yeah.
With the way they had set up with Mordo being a good guy in the beginning and then having him turning evil at the end, essentially, they had set it up for a very good, heartbreaking moment, and they didn't deliver that.
Yeah. Like, when he turned evil at the end, I was like, oh, that sucks. But I'm not losing any sleep over it.
Yeah, same.
It doesn't look like Marvel's losing any sleep over it, too, because they just got Doctor Strange greenlit, just now.
And that's why they, did Loki right most of the time, because in his evilness, you wanted him so much to be good because of the relationship that he had with Thor.
Yeah.
And there were moments where he and Thor would have that relationship, and you're like, come on, please, just stay this way. And then he would do it again. And then finally in Thor Ragnarok, Thor was like,
they're trying to
I just have to trust that you're going to be who you are, which is a snake,
I say we give Mordo more time, because
for sure.
We got 5-6 movies with Loki.
I'm just saying, with the way they put the turn, we didn't have closeness enough with him.
True.
Even in Thor 1, I felt that about Loki. I was like, something about Tom Hiddleston's character, the way he played the character
he's much more sympathetic.
All right, number 15.
Number 15, I have Captain Marvel. I agree. This movie has a bunch of flaws, but I'm willing to overlook them a lot more because I think I like Captain Marvel, the character. I think she has the potential to be a good and interesting character. They just need to develop her more in the sequel.
It's going to be hard, though, because, like you said, she has the Superman syndrome, which makes it difficult for her to be a relatable character like how Superman is. They have to give her something like Superman. Well, the thing that makes Superman a relatable character is that he feels that loneliness of being the only Kryptonian. And so you can relate to him on that regard of, I'm the only one of this, or I feel alone sometimes.
I trust Kevin Feige has a great plan with her.
Yeah.
I love Nick Fury in this movie. I thought he brought as soon as Captain Marvel crash landed on Earth and met with Nick Fury, this movie started going.
That was the start.
Finally.
That was the start of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. I found Jude Law's character to be all right. He was
a terrible villain.
To me, he seemed all right. He wasn't the greatest villain on Earth, but he definitely wasn't the worst. But my least favorite part of this movie is they went back to space being boring and uninteresting. I was hoping for more of the quirkiness from Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy. Instead, we got Thor 1 level space. It's all serious. But yeah, that's just me. All right, what's your 15?
My number 15 is Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Yep. Respectable.
Mainly for all the reasons you said. I loved the movie personally. I just feel like it just wasn't as strong as the first one, and I feel like it did some things too, I feel like they killed off Quicksilver too soon, and they shouldn't have had him die in it.
Yeah.
And I feel like they missed opportunities by not having Falcon and War Machine in it as much. They missed a huge opportunity there.
Yeah. I feel like the MCU Quicksilver is just a casualty of the Fox Disney rivalry that was going on at the time. And had the deal gone in sooner, we might be having more of that version of the character. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, and then what else am I thinking here? The Hulkbuster fight was amazing.
Yep.
I wish they had not started the Bruce and Black Widow relationship in it because they didn't go anywhere with it.
That's true. If Joss Whedon was left directing the movie, maybe they win something, or future movies. Maybe they go.
They obviously still had some kind of thing for each other, as you could see in Infinity War and Endgame.
But it's clearly gone.
But they never did anything. That 2 years screwed them over.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Number 14, I have Doctor Strange. Yeah, pretty much. So Doctor Strange, I thought like Doctor Strange as a character was great. The movie is just okay overall. Like it's cool seeing like this new side of the MCU being like mystic and all these like unknown like entities and powers like Dormammu that we've previously never known anything about. But besides that, I'm afraid like this movie's just kind of bland and mediocre, and the villain is just one of the worst. Like probably the second worst next to
Dormammu?
or no, Mag Mikkelsen's character.
Oh, yeah.
Purple Eyes, as I call him. He's next to the Malekith the Accursed as like the worst MCU villains in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's yours?
My number 14 is Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Ooh.
And let me explain you. Let me explain
Okay,
you because I absolutely adore this movie.
Explain me.
I absolutely adore this movie. The reason why has nothing to do with Spider-Man himself. Has more to do with the universe that he's been placed in his movie.
Okay.
It is not a Spider-Man universe. It just isn't.
Yeah.
And that is my main complaint with it, and I feel like that's a very large complaint to be able to have. When your character matches, but they're in the wrong universe, the universe is half of the battle. It's like, for me, it would be like you have Robert Downey Jr. nailed.
Yep.
But Pepper Potts isn't there, and Rhodes isn't there, and he's not a multi-million-dollar person. It's like you can have the character down, but if they're not put in the right scenarios, the right world that they are supposed to be in, like yeah, okay, Peter Parker's in high school, that's the right world that he's supposed to be in, but where the frick is Gwen Stacy? Where's Harry Osborn? Where's Oscorp?
Part of this, I feel, is
the Sony,
the heavy Sony,
the Sony deal. And I get that.
Movie.
Where's the Daily Bugle?
This is also
why is Aunt May only a 50-year-old?
I feel like this is them like trying to do something fresh after like 2 other reboots so quickly. And
well, I get that. Yeah. I didn't mind the whole Liz Toombs thing, even though Liz is not Liz Toombs.
Yeah.
She's someone else.
Yeah.
Liz Allen is her name.
Oh, okay.
They should have made her a completely different character. I don't like Zendaya being the MJ of the universe. Because she's not Mary Jane.
Okay.
She is not Mary Jane Watson. Here's the thing. Gwen Stacy, the Mary Jane that we got from the original Spider-Man trilogy was not Mary Jane either. Gwen Stacy that we got from the Amazing Spider-Man, that was Gwen Stacy. Emma Stone nailed Gwen Stacy. They nailed Gwen Stacy in those movies.
Right.
Sorry. Just realized how that sounded. My bad. Mary Jane is supposed to be, and I think she was met more in college than she was in high school. Mary Jane was supposed to be that stereotypical, like, hot redhead model chick that, like, was really theoretically out of Peter Parker's league. You know, she's supposed to be your, have you ever seen Cobra Kai?
Yeah, I've seen Cobra Kai.
Like, the mom from Cobra Kai.
Mm.
You know, Daniel San's wife in Cobra Kai. That is the type of person that would be Mary Jane.
Yeah.
You know, Gwen Stacy is going to be more like I said, Emma Stone. And Zendaya is not MJ at all. And I hope that they're just kind of having that be an Easter egg and she's not really supposed to be Mary Jane Watson.
Yeah.
I just really hope that.
Her name is like Michelle or something. Mm-hmm. I think it's like Michelle Jones or something.
I thought Michael Keaton as Vulture, though, was amazing. And I thought a lot of things were really good. I love Ned. I think he's I think he's a great best friend and stuff. Just the world in general, it was wrong. It was not a Spider-Man world.
Okay.
And that's my biggest complaint about it. Anyways, moving on.
Was that your 14?
Yeah.
Okay, my number 13 pick is Captain America: The First Avenger. Okay. I love Steve Rogers. I love Captain America. I love the world that they built. I love Peggy Carter. I love Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes. I thought everything like this. The first act of this movie is one of the best in MCU. We gotta pick it up a bit. Yeah. When they montage through World War II, that's where it kind of drops for me. And Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull, while I think is like he gives like a really cheesy and hammy performance. And I think maybe that fits like the tone of like the movie.
I think it fits a 1940s hero. Yeah, it's like
it's more of an adventure movie than an action movie, and it gave a good like foundation to like the character.
Yeah. My number 13 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Ooh, okay.
The reason why is because I love that movie a lot, but I feel like it suffered from one of the similar issues that some of these other movies have, where it's got a very slow middle. The beginning was fun and the end was really great, but it's got a very slow middle. It's got a very slow middle, and it's just it kind of drags out at some points to me. But overall, I think the story is solid, and I think it's a very important film to the franchise.
Okay.
Moving on.
Cool. Number 12, I have Iron Man 3. I like all the...
That's really funny. You know what my number 12 is?
What?
Iron Man 2.
Oh!
We literally reversed them in our numbers.
That's fantastic. Okay. The reason why Iron Man 3 works for me is I thought it sort of delivered a bold political message behind like racial stereotypes being used to like drive the American people into like fear, like using the Mandarin as like this sort of like this Eastern warlord stereotype and using him to like propel like this fear in the American society. I thought that was really bold and interesting and a different way to take it. I also really like Tony Stark dealing with like the fallout from the Avengers with this whole PTSD thing.
The whole War Machine rocks joke.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. One of my favorite scenes in all of the MCU is from Iron Man 3 when he is talking about like his PTSD with Pepper, when he says like I can't
Not trying
sleep.
to be rude, but I really want to kind of get through some of these a little quicker so that by the time we get to our end ones, because I already know what some of the last like that are going to be.
True.
I'll have more time to talk about those ones. I don't want to rush as much.
But yeah, I enjoy the twist. I thought like this movie is really bold, and I personally enjoy it.
Yeah. Mine, obviously, Iron Man 2, you heard.
Yep.
Why it worked for me more than Iron Man 3 did was because I loved the introduction to War Machine. I loved, at the end when he's like, give me my suit back, and he's like, I'm keeping it. I loved Hammer's character in it. I loved the villain. I thought Whiplash was a very strong villain, actually. And I felt like he was a good villain that fit the, like, Marvel formula kind of thing. It felt very much like it was the next in line right after Iron Man 1. It felt like it was the same universe. Yeah. And that's one of the problems I think that I had with Iron Man 3 was that you had Shane Black as the director, so it didn't feel like as much with 1 and 2. And I thought that I really loved the whole shrapnel going to his heart faster, and he had to find the tritium stuff to be able to...
True.
Yeah, so anyways.
It's Tony Stark being Tony Stark, and what's not to love. My number 11 spot is Iron Man 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah. While I appreciate what this movie did at the time, and it's still really great, I just think that there's a bunch of other movies that are just better. This one like kind of stands out because they haven't had like they haven't figured out like the quippy Marvel formula yet. Right, so every joke lands, but it's just longer in between. In the first 2 acts, while it's fun to see him building the suits, it does take a little bit of
almost feels a lot more stereotypical with its humor and things too.
Yeah, it does seem like a 2000...
you're using all the AC/DC music and stuff like that.
It is a 2000s comic book movie.
Yeah.
And I love
it's a lot closer to like Spider-Man and X-Men and stuff like that than
MCU.
Than we are currently.
Also, love the fact that they put Black Sabbath's Iron Man at the end credits. They didn't have to do that, but they did. Yeah. I love it.
Oh, so, real quick, one last thing I want to say about Iron Man 2. I love the way they introduced Black Widow. That's it.
Yep. Okay.
All right, my number 11 is Captain America, the first Avenger. For a long time, this was actually my favorite Marvel movie. And the reason why is because I just love the character of Captain America that was portrayed in it. He was a scrawny kid from Brooklyn that would do anything to protect his fellow man. Yep. Even though he really couldn't physically. He all he wanted to do was go fight to protect and serve, and he finally got that opportunity, and it changed his life forever. I loved his friendship with Bucky. I think my biggest complaint is that I would have liked to go deeper into that for that first movie. Yeah. I think they were too montagey with it when he actually went in and became Captain America and started kicking ass and stuff.
Yeah, the montage really kills it.
I liked Red Skull and the way they developed him. I thought Arnim Zola was a great villain. I liked the introduction of the Infinity Stones in it. That was our little first introduction of Infinity Stones.
That is true, yeah.
And so, yeah, that was my number 11.
All right, my number 10 is Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Yeah, I really enjoy this movie more than the second one. I think that having it be more of a 70s spy thriller edge really makes it work.
Yeah.
And casting Robert Redford as like the villain in a
the whole twist too with Hydra and everything was amazing.
It's really, really good. And me personally, I think this is a really like it has a different tone. It seems a lot more serious than the other quippy Marvel movies, and I think it's a good breath of fresh air. And it really, I like the fact that they take Captain America and they don't change him. They change the world around him. And it makes the conflict a little more different and interesting.
My number 10 is Marvel's The Avengers.
Ooh, okay.
I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. I could pop that in at any moment and remember, oh yeah, I remember why I love this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's great. The theme, the way it opens up with that Loki attacking the S.H.I.E.L.D. base.
Okay.
With the whole, crap, we lost Hawkeye, crap, we lost the Space Stone, crap, we lost the Mind Stone, crap. And then, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. And then it goes just from there. You one by one, you get reintroduced to these characters. They come together. They fight. They don't work well together.
It's great.
And then they just come together like how would you say? They come together like chocolate and strawberries.
True.
Like butter and popcorn.
Peanut butter and jam.
Like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Like you just said.
Yep.
They come together like the Beatles.
And then they would break up like the Beatles later, but that's besides the point. Okay, we're on number 9, right?
Yep.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. When I first saw this...
Did you already do Guardians, by the way, the first one?
No.
Okay.
That's later on the list. When I first saw Guardians 2, I thought it was better than the first one, and really it depends which one I've seen latest that I like more, but I think I like this one because it develops the characters a lot further. It made Yondu likable, and it has much more of it's a really funny movie, but also has a very somber ending, which I thought was really bold and a different choice. You guys see all of your favorite characters again, and it's fantastic.
My number 9 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1.
Ooh, okay.
My number 9 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 because it's one of my favorite Marvel movies. It's in my top 10, obviously.
Yeah.
I love the character of Peter Quill in it. I love the way he is in it. I feel like in some of the later renditions of him from later movies, he gets a little overly goofy and they lean too much into his stupidity. Okay. And I don't like that as much. And I think he's a lot smarter in these earlier films. I loved everyone's introduction. I loved when they met Drax in prison and he was like, my reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
Yeah.
I just love the humor in it. I love the storyline. It was a great, solid,
Yep. Introduction.
The complaint that I had about it is, again, one of those, the beginning, middle, first, second act kind of thing did kind of drag a little bit until finally we got to that end.
Yeah, okay. For my number 8, I have Spider-Man Homecoming. This
Understandable.
Movie, okay, I don't like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. I don't like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
I love Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker. But I prefer Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I
absolutely adore Tom Holland as Spider-Man. In my opinion, he's my definitive version of Spider-Man live action.
Me too.
I also love the characters around him, with
you
Ned. You
also have to understand, I went for my 10th birthday party to go see Spider-Man 1 in the theaters.
Right, I understand that. There's a nostalgia factor around that. So I lost my train of thought. I love the side characters with Ned and Michelle, who's supposed to be our new love interest MJ sort of character, which I thought
I don't even like that actress that much.
I like Zendaya in the role. I thought she's brings this cynical wit about her that I appreciate. Mm-hmm. I know it's not just like the comics. Yeah, we're gonna try to wrap it up. It's not like the comics with all the characters, but I like the new cast. Hopefully they can introduce more characters.
That was your number 8, right?
Yeah, and I love Michael Keaton as the Vulture.
He was great.
Moving on.
My number 8 is Ant-Man.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. The reason why number 8 is Ant-Man is because, first of all, Paul Rudd.
Yes.
Second of all, Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah.
Third of all, Ant-Man to me was never that great of a hero. I didn't really know that much about him until I saw the Ant-Man movie, and then I saw that Ant-Man movie, and I'm like...
True.
This is a really cool superhero, and the reason why it's really high up on my list is because it was a movie that made me... that Ant-Man has actually become, in my top 5 favorite Marvel superheroes. Really? Because of that movie.
Huh.
And did you know that he was actually one of the original Avengers?
I didn't know that until the movie came out.
It wasn't Scott Lang.
Yeah, it was Hank Pym. I didn't know that until the movie came out and people started talking about him and he became relevant. So,
and I just love the lore of the Pym particle and all that and the shrinking and all that stuff. It's a great movie. And then I like the backstory of Scott Lang of how he did this thing. He's got his master's in engineering. He was in prison and now he's estranged from his wife and can't really see his daughter whenever he wants to, stuff like that.
Right.
And, like, the daughter's like the most important thing to him,
Right.
and it gives him a nice MacGuffin for his character. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
It's number 7.
My number 7 is Thor Ragnarok. This movie's fantastic.
I don't think we need to say anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to talk about it later.
Okay. Thor Ragnarok's great. The only thing, my only complaint about it is it undercuts dramatic moments for a joke.
I agree.
That's the only thing that's holding this movie back from being really great.
I feel like
Besides
Infinity
that,
War had that same problem at some points.
Besides that, I think this movie's fantastic. It goes for the all out laughs. It brings Taika Waititi breathes like new life into this franchise that was pretty much dead. And I would argue that if Thor Ragnarok didn't do as well and they didn't make these changes, he would have died in Infinity War and/or Endgame.
I also argue that Taika Waititi would have been a very good replacement for Guardians Volume 3 had they not brought James Gunn back.
True. Yep.
My number 7 is Captain America: Civil War.
Ooh, okay.
My number 1, or not number 1. My number 7 is Captain America: Civil War because that airplane fight scene is amazing.
It's pure bliss.
The storyline in general, where Baron Zemo is puppet mastering the emotions of the Avengers and pitting them against each other, I just love that. I think that there was much to be desired from him as a villain. I really liked, though, that the fights and everything still stayed with Captain America and Iron Man at the forefront. Like, even that final fight in the Hydra base was still a fight between Captain America and Iron Man.
Yep.
And I loved the emotional, like, just destruction that it did to their relationship. And then, of course, how can you not love freaking... This is another ranking we gotta do, is the Stan Lee.
The Stan Lee cameos.
And that was one of my favorite ones.
Tony Stank.
Oh,
it's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for that. He's right here.
It's so great.
And then, of course, the emotional, like, Tony, like, with Rhodey's, like, broken body in his arms, just, like, and then just...
It's
Sam.
really sad and, like... It puts the characters through the ringer.
But you see also the connection between Tony and because they are best friends.
Yeah.
Like, they literally are.
Yeah.
And you see Tony's hurt and concern and worry for Rhodes in that moment where he's like, "Oh, my friend!"
Yeah. That movie actually made me care about
And
War
then,
Machine.
of course, the Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah, Spider-Man stuff is fantastic. All right.
And that's what I'm talking about. Spider-Man was amazing because when you put him in the rest of the Avengers universe, he fit in perfectly. He was Spider-Man. He felt like Spider-Man. But then when you put him in his universe, it just changed things.
In my opinion, it was
moving on. Number 6.
Number 6, I have Black Panther. I really, really like this movie. I loved the world of Wakanda. Was very interesting, and it's very like
Wakanada.
it's very like it's a very new direction for the MCU. It also has a different tone and style that really makes it stand out from the other MCU movies. Yikes. I thought that that you're looking at the time.
Yeah.
We'll wrap it up. I thought that the Eric Killmonger is probably like one of the best villains that we've had in like a Marvel movie through like the past few years.
Right.
I thought that the side characters were great. I thought Chadwick Boseman, who played Black Panther, was like more quiet and reserved, but I think that was more on purpose for him trying to be a king more than it was in Civil War. And the movie just kind of worked for me. A lot of people think it's overrated, but I disagree. I think it's great. All right.
Mine is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
The
reason why is because some of the things you said. I loved what they did with Yondu's character. I really loved what they did with Rocket Raccoon's character.
Yep.
I thought that was incredible. I thought that the Mantis stuff was really hilarious. I thought that Drax was super funny in this movie. And I really liked the relationship building between Nebula. And I just think it was a very good character development film.
It was.
It developed the characters very well. I think the weak part of it was in general the overarching story of the movie.
Yeah.
It was an okay story. It was not like it was a bad story. It could have been stronger, I think. Personally.
True.
But the character development was there, and I think that's key to a good movie.
It is. It's much more of a character-centric story.
Here we are.
Top 5.
44 minutes in. We are to our top 5. Top 5. Number 5.
Captain America: Civil War.
Captain America: Civil War.
I don't know what else to say about this movie.
It's a great movie.
It juggles so many different characters in a way that I didn't think it would work, and introduced Spider-Man and Black Panther. And ironically, I think Black Panther is better in this movie than he is in his own movie. Like
That's what I was saying.
This movie just proves to me that the Russo brothers, you give them any franchise like from the MCU, and they pretty much know how to do it.
Well, didn't they do Winter Soldier too?
They did Winter Soldier. They did Winter Soldier, Civil War, and then Infinity War, Endgame, obviously. And I just love this movie. It brings a bunch of arcs together.
It makes me happy.
Yeah. And yeah, I just really appreciate it. All the reasons you talked about it.
My number 5 is Thor Ragnarok.
Good pick.
My number 5 is Thor Ragnarok because I really liked, again, the character building. They developed Thor's character really well in this. They changed him from that cocky, arrogant, well, I'm the strongest Avenger that he was in Avengers 1 and Age of Ultron. And they humanized him more. They brought him down to earth. They broke him down.
They did.
And then they started the raising back up of his... Like, he didn't... even in Infinity War and Endgame, he was, like, still... Like, how hurt he was in Endgame from his failure, from his mistake, because of his arrogance.
The past 3 movies, like, for Thor, he's been put through the ringer of, like, trials and tribulations.
I also loved the Hulk stuff.
Yeah.
I just loved the Hulk stuff in it. It was amazing. I did... Even though I loved the Hulk stuff, I felt like this was very much un-Banner. For the character of Banner. It was not a good movie necessarily for Banner, but it was fun Hulk stuff.
Yeah, I can see that.
I feel like they didn't use Valkyrie as much as they could have too.
Yeah, maybe that's up for like a Thor 4 movie or something.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Guardians of the Galaxy. This movie's like, in my opinion, like an instant classic. Like, even if you take out all the MCU stuff, it is still a great movie.
Right.
Like, it is so funny. These characters are so great. It introduced me to the legend that is Chris Pratt. I absolutely love all these characters, and I can't wait to see more of them in the future and like how they interact with different other MCU characters.
My number 4 is Iron Man.
Really?
Yeah, the reason why my number 4 is Iron Man is because I felt that Iron Man was very solid. Having rewatched it a few times, Iron Man was a very solid start to the franchise. You got this character, Tony Stark, who is cocky, arrogant asshole. I'm sorry if that's crass for people, but it's just the truth about Tony at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
He then goes through this tragic event where he gets captured by the enemy, almost forced to create his own enemies, or his own weapons for the enemy, to a point where he develops his relationship with this doctor guy in a cave, who comes back in number 3, by the way.
He does, yeah. I forgot about that.
And he builds this suit of armor in a cave, right? And he has this... He's a superhero that has a medical malady that he turns into his superpower.
It's really cool.
Like, think about that.
Really interesting.
He has this shrapnel that's going to his heart, and he puts this thing in his heart, in his chest, that's supposed to magnetize it away and keep it at bay. Then he uses that to power an armored suit and give him superpowers. Like, come on.
It's pretty awesome.
I think that the downfalls of this for me were that Don Cheadle was not already a War Machine.
Yeah, Terrence Howard does make it feel a little weird.
And I feel like I would have liked more Happy in it.
Yeah.
Happy would have been more fun.
Okay. My number 3 pick is The Avengers. This movie is fantastic. It's fantastic. The only complaint I really have against it is the first section when Loki is first coming and takes the Tesseract is a little bit slow. But as soon as we get that title card of the Avengers, you're in for like a popcorn fun-filled roller coaster from beginning to end. It's just so much fun. And the
I feel like the slow part personally is when they're all banding together in right after that part.
It should be illegal for these many actors to have such good chemistry with each other. Like,
yeah, it really should be.
It's unbelievable. My
number 3 is Avengers Infinity War.
Okay.
The reason why it's not higher than Endgame or other films, Endgame particularly, is because it leaves you on that cliffhanger, and I prefer movies that have that finality. All of these other movies that we've listed off so far, they don't really leave you on a cliffhanger. They really conclude the story, for the most part, that was being told in that film.
Yeah.
The Infinity War leaves you on a cliffhanger, and the story does not get finished until like the first 10 minutes of the next movie.
Yeah, that's true.
And then the Endgame movie really begins. So, but I think it's a fantastic movie. The whole Infinity Gauntlet storyline of Thanos slowly, one by one, just getting the stones, the stress and the tension, the entire movie from just basically the very beginning because of what he's done to Asgard.
Yeah.
You know, killing Loki right there. There was like no stops were pulled. Like they killed Loki, they killed Gamora. You know, they killed half of the Avengers essentially by the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was just a great movie. It made me laugh. It made me cry. It made me worry. It made me stress. And just everything. So.
Yep. My number 2 is Avengers Infinity War. Yeah, for the exact same reasons that you have, I absolutely love this film. In my opinion, this is the Empire Strike Back of our generation. Yeah. And in the sense that it leaves you on a very big cliffhanger. Thanos is like one of the best villains that we've had.
Major domo.
Thanos, in my opinion, is like one of the best villains, not just comic book villains, but best villains that we've had in like movies like within the past like 20 years. I can't believe how many characters they bounced out in this movie, and it leaves you on a cliffhanger that I personally like. While I was sad to see happen at first, but more times watching the movie, the more I appreciate how it ended. It was very bold of them to do that, and I absolutely like love it.
My number 2 is Avengers Endgame.
What's your number 1 then?
You'll hear in a minute. My number 2 is...
What's your number 1?
My number 2 is Avengers Endgame. There's not much that I have negatively to say about this movie, except for that when you're dealing with a time travel storyline such as Endgame is, there are many times where there's plot holes. There just are. And it's very like one of the things, spoilers...
Yep.
The whole Space Stone thing where they had Loki steal the Space Stone. Part of the reason they had that was so that Tony would be able to go back in time and have that moment with his dad. And so that Steve would be able to see Peggy. And so then that would bleed into their decisions that they make, you know. But now we have this issue of where did Loki go with that Space Stone? And now we have another timeline. Because of what the Ancient One said.
I feel like that's setting up his series in the Disney Plus show.
But the other thing we have is, like, at the end when Captain America comes back and he's all old and gray, it's like, does Captain America age?
Well, I'd assume, like, he would after a little bit.
But there's some debate about that. Yeah. Then there's also some people have been asking, would he even show up in this timeline, since theoretically him being there in the first place would have caused a new timeline.
Yeah.
So there's some issues that kind of surround the time travel stuff with the story. But overall, it's just a fantastic film, and I loved it.
Yep, true. And my number 1 is Avengers Endgame. For all the reasons he said and more, the plot holes like with the time travel and stuff.
They're small issues.
I can just turn my brain off and enjoy it. Like, honestly, and some of these, like, I can come up with solutions that just make me, like, ignore them more, I guess. And that third act battle.
Oh my gosh!
If you love superhero movies, you've already seen this movie probably.
I would bring a diaper for that last act battle just simply because you might literally do multiple things in that diaper while you're watching the movie. It's so stressful.
I was stressed.
Yourself. You'll wet yourself though. You might something else yourself.
I laughed. I cheered. I cried. All within the same 5 minutes. It's just a movie that's fantastic. And all right. Yeah. What's your number 1? I'm dying to know.
My number 1.
What's your number 1?
It's a very, it might be a controversial pick for number 1. But for me, it's been my favorite Marvel MCU movie, and I think it's one of the best ones. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
What? Oh, okay. Explain.
So, the reason why Ant-Man and the Wasp is the best... or i.e. my favorite, is because of a couple things. One, I think that they brought you back very well from Civil War, explaining the whole being on house arrest thing, and I liked his relationship with his daughter a lot, and the whole world's greatest grandmother joke that they had with the trophy, and just that little girl in general won my heart over in that movie. Like, I wish that she was my daughter. Like, I was like, can I just have you as my daughter? Can we hang out all the time and go to movies and eat popcorn? Like, she just was such a cute little girl. And I mean that in not, like, the creepiest way possible. I mean that in, like, you know...
The chemistry that she and Paul Rudd have,
oh my gosh,
is really fantastic. When
she's suggesting to become Ant Girl... I literally wanted her to become Ant Girl. But I also didn't because it's stupid. And then when he's like, you can't become Aragorn, she's like, don't laugh. She's a fantastic actress. She won my heart. Paul Rudd's amazing. I love the development between him and Hope. I loved the way the whole storyline with Janet ended up. I really, really did like the villain, and the whole, giant man and the Goliath and everything like that,
Right.
I loved everything about this movie, and I have very little complaints about it. I loved Michael Pena.
Pena, yeah.
Michael Pena. I loved his character in this. I loved the whole let's shrink down the cars kind of moments that they had during it.
Right.
I really liked the backstory with Ghost.
Okay.
I thought that it was really cool how she had that phasing thing, and that it was destroying her body, and that Bill Foster was trying to help her fix it, and all that. I just love the movie. I love the chemistry between all the characters. I just wish I could be in that team.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
That's my number one. You can shoot me if you want. I don't care. Ant-Man and the Wasp is my favorite.
Yeah. Alright, so that was our ranking of the entire MCU. We'll probably update this when Spider-Man Far From Home comes out or any other future MCU movies. Any closing thoughts?
I think that the closing thoughts should be give just a quick, 1 or 2 sentence summary of your review of Endgame.
In my opinion, movie of the year. Go see it with as many friends as possible. It makes it more fun to see them react. And yeah.
I think personally for me, I think it may not be movie of the year, but right now it is. It remains to be seen how well Star Wars Episode 9 does. It remains to be seen how well Aladdin and Lion King do, and it remains to be seen how well Spider-Man does.
Yeah,
there's a great many movies coming out this year, and even though Endgame was amazing and of epic proportions, it rivaled Return of the King in my opinion.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the Return of the King level of crazy.
But I think that if nothing else, I feel that Robert Downey Jr. has earned at least a nomination for Best Leading Actor.
Oh yeah, by far.
I feel like he has earned that, and I also feel like so far for the scores for this year, Alan Silvestri has earned a nomination for Best Original Score.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
And visual effects, I feel like should be in there. Same with audio mixing. I feel like if it doesn't get nominated for at least one Oscar, I'd be very surprised.
I was really mad when First Man beat out Infinity War for Best visual effects.
Well, here's the thing: the best we can hope for things like Star Wars and Avengers and stuff is really a nomination, because there's something about those movies that people will never see them as a movie that should have won an Oscar, no matter how good they are.
Yeah.
And it's really disappointing. But I feel like we are getting to a point in our culture now where that's changing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I also feel like Endgame needs to pass Avatar as the highest grossing movie of all time.
I think Pokemon Detective Pikachu should.
You think that many people are going to see Detective Pikachu?
Well, actually, I don't think that, but I do love Detective Pikachu. It was a very good movie.
All right, cool.
I think that, and actually, did you know that it did beat it out?
Did it?
On one night this last weekend.
Huh. Well, good for it then. All right. Yeah, so that's
I think last night, on Friday, it beat out ticket sales for Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, me and friends are going to try to see that next week.
All right. I was reading something online. All right.
That's it for us. That's our ranking. All right. And,
do you want to let it go for another minute and a half and have just a 60 on the dot?
Nah, I say we cut it off now, so that way it'll make people upset more.
All right, give the closing statement. Close us out.
Yeah, that's it for us. As far as our rankings, leave your ranking in the comment down below. Let us know why, because why is much more interesting than just what and yelling at each other in a comment section. Share with your friends, coworkers, classmates, whoever. We're trying to build more of an audience, and like and subscribe, all that stuff. See you guys.
Bye.